Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Rachel and this is Stitched Up. So yeah, it's been a good 8 or 9 days since I last did a video. I think it was just before the new year, so happy new year to everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful 2019. Now yeah, I've been feeling a little bit under the weather this last week. The last week was very hectic as I finished off the bits and pieces in my old job, and I'm now 2 days into my new job at a local GP practice. So it's going really well. I'm really tired. It's exhausting. Obviously I'm learning loads and yeah, learning to meet new people and get to know everybody, that kind of thing. So it's been really really tiring time, and yeah, last week I had so much to do in my old job. It was really emotional leaving after 3 years, and yeah, I was feeling quite under the weather, not sleeping very well, etc, etc. So I really just did not have the energy to vlog. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who has commented on my last video, and I know that there's been some comments come up over some of my Vlogmas videos as well that some people still seem to be watching, so thank you for that and thank you for tuning in. I know that I've been really slack with answering comments over the last week. It's been down to the fact that I've just had so much on my plate, and with not feeling very well and the transition from one job to another, it's just been manic. But please be reassured that I do read everybody's comments and take on board people's comments and people's suggestions and ideas, and I really do appreciate everybody taking time out of the day to do that. So please, just because I haven't always commented, please don't think that I'm deliberately ignoring you or not taking on board what you're saying, because your interaction with me means so much to me and I really do appreciate it. Anyway, let's get back to today's video. So if you remember, in my last video I mentioned that I wanted to make myself a blouse with the Atelier Brunette is it Poppy Viscose, I think it's called, and I wasn't quite sure what blouse I wanted to make. Well, I decided to make two, so I did make two at the weekend, managed to get them done in readiness for my new job, because obviously now I'm in a nurse practitioner role, I am not in uniform anymore. So if you remember, in one of my Vlogmas videos early in December, I made a blouse that was a mashup of two patterns, and this blouse was trying to emulate the blouse, as it's called, by the Avid Seamstress, because when that was released I really loved the pattern. I thought it was lovely, really classy and elegant, and I thought it would work really well for my new job. However, it was about I think it's about £16–17, something like that, and I have loads of patterns in my stash and wanted to have a look to see if I could recreate something very similar. So I had some lovely silk fabric that's been in my stash for about 4 years, and yeah, I did a mashup of a couple of patterns and I made the blouse, the imitation of the blouse, from, I think it was these two actually. I've got them here. So this is McCall's M7575, which I'll just bring that in so you can have a look. So I made the first version out of this version here, except I didn't put the darts in. So I just wanted to keep it nice and loose and not fitted. So I traced off the pattern pieces for this version of McCall's M7575, and I also had this in my stash, which is M7357. Both of these patterns were freebies with Love Sewing magazine, as you can see up there, and I thought the sleeves of this pattern matched with the bodice of this without the darts in would give me something very similar to the blouse by the Avid Seamstress. So the version that I made in the Vlogmas video, which I will link to down in the comments below so you can go and take a look if you like, I loved it and now I wear it. It's lovely, but I wasn't keen on the mandarin collar on that because I felt that it was just a bit too big. If you look at the Avid Seamstress version, that mandarin collar is very it's much slimmer, and I actually preferred that. So what I thought I would do is, in the named Breaking the Pattern book, if you have a look at the Sapporo top, that's what it's called, isn't it, that I made when that book came out a couple of months ago. The mandarin collar on that I thought was much more like the blouse from the Avid Seamstress, so I decided that when I was going to remake my concoction of this pattern, that I would use the mandarin collar from that pattern. So that's what I've done, and here is the result, and I love it. So this blouse I've got on now, I'll stand up and show you. Again, is a Lady McElroy fabric. It's a cotton lawn that I got from Sherwood's Fabrics back in early December. It was a remnant, and it's beautiful. If I come in close, it's a really beautiful sort of, it's a bit like it reminds me of a Monet picture. It's quite an abstract sort of floral design in these gorgeous ochres and yellows and creams, and the green base on there as well. It's just really, really lovely. The fabric is so soft, and yeah, so this is what I've made, and I'm absolutely delighted with it. So this is a mashup of those three patterns. I've used the mandarin collar from the named pattern Sapporo top. I haven't put a button at the top. I did that on my original blouse, and I didn't like the effect of that, and I wanted to leave this so that it just opens a little bit. So I've started the buttons from here, and these buttons are the buttons that I bought that I originally was going to put on my husband's shirt that I made him for Christmas, that I was going to replace those teal buttons with, but actually he likes the buttons on that shirt, so I decided to snatch these for this shirt. So yeah, so I've used those buttons. So they're just plain black, matte black buttons. Don't know if you can see that very well. It's got a placket down the front which is interfaced. If I just untuck it and show you. So so yeah, that's the sort of, I don't know if you can really see that, but that's the sort of full length, and it doesn't have a yoke on the back. It's just a straight back with fairly loose fitting sleeves, and then I've just got a little cuff around at 3/4 lengths. I like to keep it 3/4 lengths because in my job, obviously as a nurse practitioner, we're supposed to be what they call bare below the elbow. So so 3/4 length works really well for me, and yeah, I really, really love this. This is absolutely perfect. So I made a size 14. At the minute I'm tending to be a size 14 in McCall's patterns, and I just like the fit on this. As I say, all I did was leave out the darts. I didn't put the darts in to keep it nice and loose, and I really like it. I just think it's fab. So so yeah, so this is this one. I'm now going to change into the Atelier Brunette one that I made at the end of last week. Thank you for all your suggestions in my last video. There were some amazing suggestions, and the other fabric that I showed you, which is still here because I've not had a chance to make it up yet, which was this one. Was it this one? Yeah, this one here. You gave me some fantastic suggestions, and a few people mentioned the Sew Over It Pussy Bow blouse. I've made that a couple of times and I really like it, so I'm really tempted to actually make that out of this. I think that will look really nice. So so yeah, so I'm definitely going to take that idea on board for that. And yeah, there was one person that mentioned, I'm really sorry, I can't remember who it was, one person who commented that there's a Butterick pattern that didn't have a button placket down the front but was a loose fitting blouse that was suitable for work, that kind of thing. Linked to it, and I really, really liked it. However, I just received last week my copy of the latest Love Sewing magazine, which is this one here, and I thought that this blouse that's on the front of this magazine was very similar to that Butterick pattern. Again, it's a loose fitting blouse with 3/4 length sleeves, and it's got this lovely tie neck. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a go at making that. So that's what I've made. So let me go put it on and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, I've just moved the camera down a little bit so you can see a bit better. So here it is. Here is the Atelier Brunette. I'm sure it's Poppy. I'm sure the fabric's called Poppy, but anyway, yes, the Poppy viscose that I got for Christmas from my husband, and this is the top from the latest Love Sewing magazine. Now, this was fairly straightforward. I made a size 12 to 14, I think, and it really is very, very roomy. I'll just stand up to show you a bit better. I've left it untucked at the minute, but obviously for work I wore it yesterday actually, and I wore it tucked into my trousers. So, but you can see it tends to it's like a trapeze shape, and to be honest, I would never wear it out not tucked in, because my waist is my smallest part, and I don't think these big billowy tops that are this sort of shape do anything for my figure at all. But as the loose fitting blouse, as I say, if I tuck it in to my trousers, I like it tucked in. I think it's really, really nice. And yeah, so again, it's got loose fitting sleeves, and it's got a cuff band around the wrist. Well, it's not the wrist actually, because these are 3/4 lengths. And then it's got a bias bound tie around the neck and a little notch at the front that's got a facing just on the inside. Now, it was really straightforward to sew, but the only thing I would say is that this is a pattern by Sew Girl, I think the pattern company is. And as I say, you can download the templates from the Love Sewing website if you haven't got the magazine. But what I would say is that in the instructions that are in the magazine, it doesn't actually give you the length of the bias binding that you need for the neckline. So it obviously tells you it's got the pattern pieces for everything else, but there isn't a pattern piece for this tie. It tells you to use bias binding, but it doesn't actually give you the length that you need. So obviously you need to use, I mean, I suppose you could use a contrasting fabric if you wanted to, but I wanted this to sort of blend in with the fabric, etc. And yeah, it was a little bit awkward to sort of figure out how much I needed to make, because you actually attach this before you sew the side seams together, etc., and put the sleeves in. So it's actually quite early on in the process. So to be able to judge the diameter, is it the diameter of the back neckline, the front neckline, and how much extra you need to be able to tie it without having that information, I think was a little bit poor. So I'm pretty sure that I read the instructions 2 or 3 times and nowhere could I see where it told me how much I needed. So basically all I did was I cut a few strips. This is 1 inch bias binding, and I cut a few strips, sewed them all together, and then just made my, I can't tell you the length that I actually ended up cutting, because I just cut it off where I thought it would be suitable, to be honest. If I was going to make this again, I would use bigger bias binding. The only reason I say that, I did want it quite thin, but it was really awkward to sew and get it to look really neat. I think I've ort away with it, but if you get really, really close, there are a couple of places where it's quite wavy, shall we say. So it's not the most perfect sort of thin tie that I've ever done, and because this is a viscose fabric, it tends to be quite slippery and not the easiest of fabrics to work with as well. I think if it was done in a cotton it would have been easier, but because it was in viscose, 1 inch bias binding, when you turn everything over and try and sew it, it was very awkward. But otherwise that was the most time consuming bit of this make. Otherwise it was fairly straightforward. The notched facing went in really well. The instructions are really good for that. And the sleeves went in really well as well. The cuffs are hand stitched on the inside, so obviously that you can't see it from the outside. And I don't think I made any other alterations to this pattern. I think I might have lengthened it by about 1 inch. Oh, it also has bust darts in, but I didn't put those in. I just wanted to leave it loose, so I left out the bust darts altogether just to leave it nice, loose, and drape it. And as I say, I wore it for my first day at work yesterday and absolutely love it. So yeah, new year, 2 new blouses. So that's really about all I wanted to talk to you about today. But yes, I'm definitely going to make the pussy bow blouse out of the remaining Atelier Brunette fabric that I got for Christmas. So watch out for that soon. I'm hoping to get that done this month. I have at the weekend also made a coat. Now I know that sounds, oh my god, you made a coat just like that. Well, it's the Papercut Patterns Sapporo Coat. Any one of you who follow me on Instagram will have seen me put a little sneaky picture up the other day And basically what I decided was, I know I've got my Sew Over It Anna trench coat that I made a few months ago that I thought would be suitable for work, but my other coats are quite casual really, and I didn't think would be suitable for my new job. So I wanted something something a little bit smarter, but the problem with the Anna coat is because it's a long trench coat and I drive to work, I didn't want to be sat in a car with a big trench coat on, and literally when I drive to work I step out of my car straight into the building now, so there didn't seem much you know, much point in sort of wearing a trench coat to work. So I wanted to make a shorter coat, but something that was a little bit more classy and smart, I guess, just for this time of year. So I've made the Sapporo coat before. I made it in a pink, it's like a cashmere poly coating fabric, something like that I bought from Maggie's Fabrics, I think it's called, off eBay. It's in one of my earlier vlogs, so if you have a look back through my channel you'll see that. And to be honest, I don't wear it that much, and I think it's just because of the colour. Obviously this time of year wearing a pale pink coat, it's just going to get filthy. So and then springtime I tend to wear it, but I don't think it's really suitable for this time of year, so I haven't worn it that much. But I love that pattern. I think it's a great pattern, and I thought I'm just going to stash dive basically, because I'm on a mission this year not to be buying tons of fabric. I've got so much in my stash, I want to try and get it down a bit and use up a lot of what I've got. So I decided I was going to raid my stash, look through the coating fabrics that I've got, which to be honest I don't have that many, and see what I could find that I could make the Sapporo out of. I fancied a black one, however the black coating fabric, I've only got one black coating fabric, and I bought that for the Romana coat by Hand London, which I haven't made yet, but I will at some point. And so I didn't want to use that, and this pattern, the Sapporo, takes about 2.5 meters I think. And anyway, I found some navy wool Melton fabric in my stash, which was just over 2 meters, so it wasn't quite enough. But I'd also got 1 meter of some charcoal coating fabric that was a very similar fabric to it that I thought I could use on some of the internal sleeve pieces. So anyway, I put that together. I cut it out, I think, on Saturday, and I sewed it up on Sunday. I used some powder touch chiffon out of my stash as well as the lining, and I'm really, really happy with it. Anyway, I've told you all about this coat, but I'm not going to show you it today, and the reason for that is because it's evening time, the light's not great, it's navy, you're not going to see it very well. So what I'm going to do is this weekend I'm going to take some photos of it when I'm off work during the daylight. Hopefully we'll get some nice sunny days, so that you can see that in a bit more detail. But I'm really happy with how it's turned out, and yeah, I wore that today and yesterday, and it's fab. So yeah, so they're my early January makes already. Plans for the rest of the month, I haven't yet really put anything in place as such. I'm having to think about the gaps where they are in my wardrobe at the minute, but I've not got any sort of firm plans as yet. So I think it's going to be one of those months where I'll just be spontaneous and think, do you know what, I like that fabric, I think I'm going to make a top today or whatever. I think that's how it's going to be. So anyway, that's it from me today. Look out for my vlog at the weekend where I'll talk to you a little bit more about my Sapporo coat and hopefully be able to tell you a little bit more about what my plans will be for the rest of January. But otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic week, whatever you're doing, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Bye bye.